Hey guys, it's Corey again. I am looking at next part of Sean Old's presentation from Boodle AI from the Imagine AI 2024. This section of what he's talking about of this thing is basically, why is it that we're not adopting AI into our organizations, our teams, as quickly as you might think? It just seems like you ought to just kind of throw that out there and boom, everybody jumps on it and they're take to it like a duck to water. But we see that the adaptation rate or adoption rate is not very high for generative AI. So he discusses that problem a little bit and kind of what they're doing about it. Let's check it out.
Now, for all of the hype around generative AI, there's a lot of people who have tried it. There's not actually a lot of adoption. And that was what we really wanted to focus on. Why wasn't there adoption? One of the big problems is just a bad expectation setting. I have sat with more than a dozen executives when I asked them why they're not using generative AI, and they said, well, I carved out some time, I spent like 3 minutes with it, it gave me some stupid answers, I've never used it again.
And that's a really common problem is people just take a very, very surface look at something, and changing people's habits is actually quite hard to do unless it just absolutely positively 300% plugs into exactly what they're doing, how they're doing it, and the way that they're doing it. I think this is where we come in, and guys like myself come in and figure out how to get it integrated into the business. That's really key, is getting it integrated into the business. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, everybody's just going to run out there and do their own everything, their own graphics, their own voice AI system like Air. And, I've had more than a bunch of people contact me and go, well, there's this developer version of I forget what it's called now, but there's this developer version that gives you the ability to go text to speech, or GPT-4 Omni 4.0 lowercase o Omni's come out and it does text to speech, and everybody's just going to the end user's going to grab that and just run with it. And they're not. They're working and solving other problems, and they've got a whole infrastructure and organization that has to be integrated into. So I think this is really going to be key moving forward with the AI. It's not just going to be instantaneous adoption and implementation.
I look at them and I'm like, when's the last meeting you went to and you sat in with your team and in the first 3 minutes they didn't give you the answer you wanted and you walked out and you fired them all? That's not what we do. So when we talk with teams, what we tell them is set your expectations with generative AI as if you just hired one of the top graduate students in the world. You're bringing them into your organization. On day one, you're going to have to give them some guidance. And then they're going to spend the crux of day one doing all the stuff you used to do 5, 10, 15 years ago that you don't want to do anymore. At the end of the day, they're going to need some feedback, right? Because they don't know your company. They don't know that you don't like contractions in your writing, right? They need to learn that stuff. And the next day, they're going to get better. And we find that when teams go in with that mentality that I can't spend 3 minutes, I need to spend 30 minutes, the same way I would with any other human team, that their expectations get met much better. The number one reason that people have said that they don't adopt generative AI, though, is because of prompt engineering. I don't know how to be a prompt engineer. And why don't I know how to be a prompt engineer? Well, we take 20 years of conditioning by Google, we see that blank ChatGPT bar, and we punch in Chinese restaurants. Google does great with that. Llama, Anthropic, none of them do really well with that. And so there's a big fear around being a prompt engineer. Number two big problem is just figuring out how to integrate it into our team workflows. Hard to integrate if people haven't already adopted it, but also just hard when we're busy of trying to figure out where it works itself in. And then finally, the concern about incorporating our own knowledge, our own information within our company. In just 18 months, and think about it, it's 18 months that this technology has been available to the public, we have seen that teams not using generative AI tend to perform worse and not as productive as teams with generative AI. Because teams with generative AI are able to go find solutions as a team. And post-pandemic, as we move into a more remote or hybrid work environment, finding ways to collaborate is of utmost importance. It also encourages teams as they use generative AI to learn and grow. And really important, I'm going to comment more about this later, is really helps teams complete tasks within a meeting, rather than wasting an hour talking about going and completing tasks and then going off and doing it.
So that's probably end here, but that's really a good point. Is the teams. That's one of the benefits is the teams can actually complete tasks in the meeting by using this technology, which keeps it fresh, keeps it relevant, targeted to the particular function of the meeting or the whatever the meeting was brought together to solve, or problem the meeting was brought to solve, is going to be really you're going to get a lot more relevant answer, a lot more on target answer, and that's a very, very good thing. Because I mean, how many times do you leave a meeting and then you go, I can't remember what we were after there. I can't remember what we were trying to do. And maybe it's this, maybe it's that. So you come back with some answer, and then you realize you kind of missed the target, where right there in the meeting you'd be able to get that feedback right away.